We just hosted the biggest AI horror film competition ever, and I should note this is the second annual edition of this competition, and this year really blew us out of the water. Almost 500 filmmakers submitted their own original projects for this competition, all with the hopes of winning the first place prize, which is $3,000, a AI filmmaking sweatshirt from Curious Refuge, enrollment in a Curious Refuge course of choice, and of course, the best prize, which is a cursed potato. And that's all in partnership with Inifinity AI. This is the judging call video where we will take a look at the finalists and decide on the winner. So without further ado, let's meet our judges.
Hi, I'm Lionel Etan. I'm the founder of Film Crux, and I'm a professional filmmaker. And I'm also an AI filmmaker specialist and a futurist. So this is exactly up my alley.
Hey, I'm Spooky Dan. I am a horror filmmaker. And a few years back, Hollywood stopped being nice to indie filmmakers and I shifted to AI. So now I'm in this world and excited to see what we have going on today.
Hey, I'm Stacey Kelly. I'm a director, filmmaker, and I love everything about AI storytelling and using AI. And I love horror, so I'm really excited to be here today to watch these films with my fellow peers.
Hey, my name's Tim Simmons. I think most of you in the community might know who I am. I have a YouTube channel called Theoretically Media, where I cover AI filmmaking, creative tools, all kinds of stuff, and like Stacey, also a super big horror fan. So really looking forward to digging in and critiquing and seeing everything that you guys put together.
Dave Clark. I am a filmmaker and also a futurist as well. Big into the AI filmmaking community. I've been experimenting with the tools for a few years now. Nightmare on Elm Street came out the same year I was born, and I probably saw it maybe a few years too soon. But now horror has been my life for most of my filmmaking career.
I'm Shelby, co-founder of Curious Refuge. So fun fact, my first film I saw in theaters was The Headless Horseman. I was probably 4 or 5, I don't know, too young. So my favorite film is Paddington. So horror is not my genre, but I have a lot of fun. I'm a new fan, and I'm just excited to watch all of these films together and decide on the best.
Okay, so there are the judges who will be deciding on the winners of this competition. But I'm actually curious, what, in their opinion, makes for a good horror film?
So I think what makes a great horror film is a few different elements. Like I'm sure Spooky Dan knows there's some sort of rules from horror that can be broken, but usually if you make characters that you actually care about, then you'll care more if something bad might happen to them, or if you tell the story in a unique way that we haven't seen before, because there's so many varieties of horror. So I think what we really are looking for is things that are both interesting and unique, but also have good storytelling and make us actually care about what we're seeing, which is sort of a hard combination to do, but when you nail it, it makes for something amazing.
It's tough when there's so much different varieties of horror, but ultimately it comes down to, I think we all agree, storytelling. And if there's a good story, even if it's a skeleton of a story, if it's well executed, it goes a really long way. And especially in this moment in time with AI, we're seeing a lot of stuff out there that isn't great storytelling, but is really pretty pictures. So for me, that was one of the biggest criterias of, we're not just another slow motion video montage. There's actually a story going on, and there's some scares, some gore, some fun. And that's the other thing to quickly say is, one of the things people forget is, as horror fans, we love the fun. When it's the gorier, the better. It's the bigger the laugh. Everyone really has fun when it's effective and it actually gets under your skin. But like, if these can be effective, they're really, they go a long way, especially in such a short amount of time.
Everybody obviously said it, but storytelling is number one. It's key. It's about what's the main character, how do we relate to that character, seeing them just like in their everyday mundane life and just going through this extraordinary situation. And also I like it when it has themes, kind of, just when the filmmaker has something to say about a theme and it's kind of coming through, but not in a overly teaching kind of way, but just sort of, in a very subtle way and just kind of making their voice known. having a different point of view just on life and the world and society, using that and just entertaining us at the same time. And I love, especially with AI films, when people are really thoughtful about sound design as well, because that really kind of helps build the tension. And that's important to me too.
Why do people go see horror movies? We love the roller coaster aspect of it. It's fun. It is like going into a horror movie and seeing it with a group of people. It's like getting onto a giant roller coaster with everyone. So that, roller coaster can take you to, emotionally devastating places, which is part of a ride, or it can take you to just stupid jump scares, that it's kind of hard to quantify what equals fun in a horror film, but we all know it when we see it. That's all I could say, really.
I think for me, because I've seen every horror movie you can imagine in every kind of genre or subgenre, it's like, what's the originality we're bringing to the storytelling? I think there's a reason why Terrifier 3 was like the number one movie and beat Joker 2. It was like we starved for that. It's like, and yes, it's a lot of violence and over the top gore, but the character, I see him on the front lawn when I'm driving down the street for like, you're seeing Terrifier over Michael Myers. And like that just shows you how powerful and how important storytelling and introducing originality is. And that's what we're starving for. So that's kind of what I'm looking for.
For me, yeah, same as everyone's story, but also just something that's going to emotionally like take me into the story and make me curious about what's happening with those characters. I want to connect with the narrative. I want to I want to see this film on a big screen. You know what I mean? So I'm looking for something that's going to really pull me in. And then I think using the tech well, of course, is important, but it's okay if it falls apart. I think that story can really push through when it's executed well. So I'm excited to watch them.
Okay, now that we know what our judges are looking for, let's take a look at our very first film. This one is called G-Pigs by Verena Phum.
Bro, she probably doesn't even remember you. That's why I'm single. Stay on me. You need a hand? Can I ask you something? Does this haircut work for me? I can't decide.
Deep.
Mhm.
Who knew guinea pigs could get deep?
Yeah, cannibal guinea pigs. I would not have,
Same.
had that on my bingo card for films to see.
Yeah, this one was
Yeah.
definitely like sort of weird core, which I know Tim has an appreciation for, like me sometimes. But the thing that really got me that I thought was really good was the flashback sequence. That was like
Yeah.
surprisingly heavy and like deep, and like it could have been a short film on its own. I felt like that was really well done. But it was interesting how, I don't know, the flashback sequence tied back into, modern times. But I thought that whole aspect and some of the sound design was really good.
Yeah. I was gonna say for me, it was attention to detail in the narrative. I think we see a lot of, Spooky Dan said it earlier. We see a lot of AI trailers out there, and not enough love and attention to the actual narrative. So being able to tie it back to pieces of the story and those attention to details to me was like a chef's kiss in storytelling.
I think that the thing that struck out the most to me, like turning it on, or on first viewing, it's like G pigs. Oh, guinea pigs, got it. And we've seen that trope in a lot of horror and genre stuff. It's like, oh, the cute fuzzy animal that's going to attack and be bloody. It's an old thing that goes all the way back to like Monty Python. You know what I mean? Like the rabbit and then you have like, even in this season of The Boys, they had that whole sequence with the farm animals like killing everybody, violent. And so, that's a tried and true staple of like cute animal, lots of blood. That's it's awesome. So I was a little like, it was okay, this is where we're going. And then as we hit that flashback sequence, like and providing motivation to our villain, I guess, but anti-hero by the end of it, it really it was like, oh, you're taking this somewhere. You're not just being a one note, trick here. And that was highly appreciated. It's funny, on a couple of watches, I was like, where did the guinea pigs come from? Like, why guinea pigs? I was looking for that, but ultimately that doesn't matter. Like it's, I mean, like you don't need to provide a narrative explanation for why guinea pigs. Like you gave me enough there. So yeah, no, absolutely loved it. I'm glad it wasn't just a bunch of special forces, getting ripped apart by cute, adorable guinea pigs. Although, great that it was there.
I actually read into it because there's a shot with the girl with the guinea pig. So because that was her close animal, I that's how I read into it, that was the motivation there for him, was to kind of that connection with her. But yeah, I agree with you. It was just sort of like the flashback was really the strongest part for me, and especially I'm very emotionally moved when I see like children and animals dying in particular. Mm-hmm. Like that's very disturbing for me. So I think in terms of getting that shake, like a little shook from it, that definitely, it was so well done. The sound design was very thought out in terms of that sequence. For me, the only thing that sort of got me out of it a little bit was the last shot of the guinea pigs. It kind of felt a little, just because guinea pigs so well, that they're so cute, that it kind of gave a little bit of a comedic note a bit. And I don't think that was the intention there, but that was just for me. So, but I loved everything about the sequence and the motivation and just kind of how it flowed.
You go, Dan.
I love that you guys started out with killing kids. So off to a good start. Just setting the bar right there with killing kids. This is a lot of fun. But seriously, I love how dark this was. That they it seemed like Tim was saying, like the misdirect was nice. Of like, oh, okay, what's that shit all over the horse? What is that thing? And then it got heavy and dark and serious. So I thought this was really a good watch.
Same, Dan. I was like, what? Like when we first saw that horse, I was just like, why is he covered in lumps? Like, what are these things? And then that second time through, it really was like, whoa, okay, there's so much happening here. And then the thing that kind of pulled me out, to your point, Stacey, was when there was that vortex in the sky. I'm like, okay, were the guinea pigs coming from this like supernatural place? How did we summon them? But again, Tim, like we don't really need to know. I think there was enough narrative there telling like the story of the loss, that there's these are used as for vengeance and for revenge. And so I thought it was really well done. So
with our first film behind us, now it's time to pivot and take a look at this incredible submission called Meet Mr. Stitch by William Bennett.
You ever wonder what it's like to be perfect? I've been working on it. for years. It's funny though. You start with just a little tear, a small snip here, a stitch there, and before you know it, you're making masterpieces. Look at this one. They were so beautiful once, but they didn't appreciate it. No, they never do. So I help them fix them up really good. I stitch their flaws right out. Oh, don't give me that look. Everyone wants to be perfect. Eventually. You see, everyone's broken in some way. But me, I can fix it. Piece by piece, thread by thread, I pull them apart, bit by bit, until there's nothing left but perfection. It's the art of becoming whole again. And when I'm done, it's beautiful. You'll be beautiful. You'll finally understand perfection. You won't even recognize yourself. But don't worry. I will. You'll be a part of something much bigger. Now, hold still. This won't hurt a bit.
That's creepy as heck.
Yeah, I love it. I think that everything in there is it really leans into what AI video is good at. Kind of leaning into the distortions, the sort of warpiness, and everything. The I don't even know like how you prompt another like mouth erupts out of a doll. Like I'm pretty sure that we're just leaning into the AI sort of hallucinating that aspect, and that's great. That's smart, because like the head turn, that was another one where you've got the doll's face on this side and then it kind of rolls around and there's another even creepier face in the back. That stuff, like, again, I don't know if that was prompted or if that's just a lot of like iterations on that particular image to video. But this is the stuff that it does really, really well. Like, it'll come up with some disturbing stuff, and then when executed, that sort of warpiness, stellar. I mean, like, yeah, you just like you can't VFX that stuff. That stuff has to be come from the mind of a deranged image to video model.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's exactly what I was saying about creating a memorable character. Like I could see that if I walk into Spirit Halloween today, like I could see that being like on the shelf to buy to put in my front yard. I always bring that up because my wife's a huge Halloween decorator, but I think between just the style, the character that they created, the consistency of it, even with the warps, it still felt like the same nightmare that you were having. And then that voice haunted my dreams last night. I have to say, it's like a mixture between like the Christmas Pooh from South Park and like the character from Family Guy. It's terrifying.
I think this one's a great example of why this competition was so hard for all of us, because there's so much good going on in it. And at the same time, I had complaints that it didn't quite nail it, but I have a house full of creepy dolls in real life. So this was like made for me. This was a really tough one to grade. This was fun to watch. I love the stabbing part.
Yeah, I agree. I agree too with what Tim was saying, just about it really leaned into what AI is good at. I mean, AI, when it comes to human faces, the consistency is still like the hardest thing. So just being able to have this consistent character that just was creepy really worked well here. And just the visuals were just like very striking, and the voice, again, like the thoughtfulness of the sound design just really made it super creepy. I like the additional kind of layer of the messaging too that the filmmaker was saying, just about this need for perfection. It kind of reminded me about how Saw had that kind of themes on just like, kind of punishing people for their sins or their kind of normal, like human I don't know, levels of self and just sort of like their mistakes and sins. And it just sort of made me think of that, like that I like that the filmmaker was sharing their kind of perspective on something, on their philosophy there too, and scaring us at the same time.
Yeah, I'm curious how much of the hallucinations of the generations influence the story. Just like you're saying, the head twisting or this like spiraling downward of skulls or doll heads on the wall. Like I would just be so curious to almost see the process of the filmmaker to see how much did they plan or just like allow the influence of the generations on their narrative. I think it was really well done, really creepy, hard for me to watch, but it was so good.
Yeah, I think this was definitely one of the most unsettling ones. It had some really crazy imagery that really went well with the narration. Narration's a very clever way to do AI filmmaking, especially at the current era. We're getting new tools now that are making it easier for dialogue, but doing narration and telling a good story through that, I think, is a great way to do it. And especially like Stacey said, with the great sound design, that really brings it forward. It can really help something that's just narrated really kind of sing. And then they had some great editing too, which I thought was really cool because that's another thing that often gets overlooked. But they put it, you could tell a lot of work into editing to really get those horror vibes across. So I thought it was really good.
Next up is a film called No Name by David Saint.
No, I want to be the zombie this time. I'm gonna be the zombie in the story. You guys are gonna go hide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ready or not, here I come. Daddy, you were gone for so long. Yeah, I was so boring without you.
That's great.
So good.
Mhm.
It feels like it's an episode of Friends or something, or like, I don't know, like this, like, like TV show you're about to watch. And then it just has that twist of like, oh shoot, there's something happening in this world.
Yeah.
But I also want to like keep watching and watch this family as these, like, they're navigating their world that has been changed, obviously. Yeah, loved the music. It just got so vibey, but I love this project.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shelby. I was really in love with just the way the tone was from the beginning and how it changed. But I don't know if this happened with anyone else. I had to watch it twice because the first time I felt like the girls, they were setting us up to go into their imagination. And so when you first see the hands in the store, it was them playing a game, like an interactive game. And then you realize, oh my gosh, this is actually real by the end. Like that's the more terrifying part at the end, was just like, wow, this is actually real, and it's scary because they are in their own world that this dad is protecting them from, helping them to kind of live. And I just love the twist of that, of just kind of thinking it was like an interactive game at first. I mean, that's how I saw it. I don't know if anyone else did, but it was so cool to think that.
Yeah, I think that the one of the things that I really love about this, there's a lot to love in here, but like early Stephen King had this thing with making scary things happen in mundane places, right? Like you begin in the ordinary. Like who's afraid of a big a big stupid dog, except it now has rabies and it's trapped you in its car. And so it's this idea of the familiarity. And so opening with like these kids playing hide and seek, like you're instantly drawn in because you have this emotional connection to like those are kids playing like I used to play, and then that being our entry point into this like horrific zombie apocalypse. Like you're already tapping into something that's within yourself, and then you get to sort of see it makes the horror more horrible. So yeah, fantastic. Plus the soundtrack vibes, super Carpenter. I'm presuming that's a Carpenter fan. Oh, and the last thing about that, I'm not sure, pretty sure those are actual kids' voices. I don't know if it's the filmmakers' kids, but anytime that you can bring in that like syntheticness and or not non-syntheticness, that organicness of like real voices, like it's going to create a connection. Like I mean, you could prompt those kids in 11 Labs, but it's not going to sound as great as that. So use real voices whenever you can.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that was cool. Another cool touch that I thought was in there is at the end when you see the dad and he comes in. I don't know if this was by accident or on purpose, but it's cool. You could see a little bit of wateriness in his eyes. And, if it was just a successful trip out, maybe you wouldn't get that. I mean, I'm sure it's terrifying every time, but it kind of makes you wonder, like, did he get bitten? Are these kids about to leave, because he's going to kill them, or are they about to be on their own? Is he going to have to go out there? You hear the rattle in the door. I would have leaned a little bit more into that because I think that would have pulled more emotion out, but I thought it was a cool little touch, really subtle, but cool. And some of the other things is just like Tim was saying, like doing the sort of countdown, like it's a classic horror trope, playing hide and seek and stuff. But the countdown was a great way to show establishing shots, pulling us into the actual world. Like you were saying, Stacey, that ends up being a real zombie apocalypse. You know what I mean? So I thought that was a really clever way to do it.
I'll agree with Stacey that I liked how the misdirect was this intentional or not? Because I was in a kid's imagination for the majority of the film until the twist at the end, and like, oh, all right, so that was the real deal. And I love that zombie shot, that first zombie shot when you finally see his face. It was really cool, really well.
Yeah, for me, it was all the vibes were great. I love the music choices. You say Carpenter, I was actually thinking George Romero, Dawn of the Dead, when he gets when he's walking down the supermarket. It totally felt like I was right in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah,
in Romero's hands at that point. But I just love the tone switch. Part of me was like, well, shit, I would never leave my kids by themselves if this was going on. But I understand it. It kind of gave me a little bit of 28 Days Later vibes too, where you kind of had to like split for a second to get stuff done. So it made sense in that way.
Brace yourself, because this next one is actually a little spooky. It's called Patient Number 40 by Ramil Escarda.
Patient log number 34. Ako si Amy, isang caregiver. Trabaho ko ang mag-alaga ng mga pasyenteng kaunti na lang ang natitira sa kanilang oras. Alam nila kung anong ang mangyayari. Ginagawa ko na lang ang lahat para maparamdam sa kanila na hindi sila nag-iisa. Kahit na parang ganun talaga ang sitwasyon nila. May mga pagkakataon na hindi ko alam kung nandito pa sila o wala na. Pero nananatili ako hanggang handa na sila umalis. Hindi ko na ito masyado iniisip. Pero yung mga bagay na baka nakikita nila, parte na ng trabaho. Patient number 39, matandang babae, may matinding hallucinations. Lalo pang lumalala ang mga symptoms niya.
Umalis ka. Hindi pa ako handa. Nandyan siya. Hindi ko kaya. Hindi pa siya handa. Hindi pa siya handa.
Patient number 40. Critical condition. Hindi na nagsasalita. End of life care. Hindi. Hindi ito. Hindi.
It's giving The Grudge a little bit. But I love it.
I absolutely love this one. This one is
Yeah.
so cool. I think it had such a cool creature, which is, hard to do. And that first shot where the creature shows up is as good as any horror movie. They nailed it. It was excellent. Chef's kiss. I thought that the concept was really brilliant and clever and creative. Doing the narration as sort of a patient log was really cool. And like Tim was saying, I don't know if they used 11 Labs or that was a real voice recording, but it really, really worked, making it have that feeling of being a real recording. It felt really organic, really real, sort of like you would see in Gareth Edwards' Monsters or something like that, where it feels grounded in reality a lot. And if you could do that, I think it just sells the whole thing really well. That was great. I love that one.
I'll add that I loved the camera work, that it was consistently handheld. And like you said, Gareth Edwards Monsters is a great example of, wow, they're using it to their advantage quite a bit, whether it was a post-process or in the prompts, and then adding the video bits on the screen as well, just really helped tie it in. And again, something we've all kind of mentioned already, but like really great sound design on this one. But I love the Insidious vibes that it was giving off. Like you said, Grudge, but Insidious and The Ring and all those movies. Yeah, it's very cool.
I just love the whole entrance of the monster. It was really well done with the sound design. I was behind my hands watching because I was like, whoa, what is this? It was just too terrifying. But especially with coming off of that first opening shot, that still felt like almost like a little documentary, right? That you would just kind of see. And that found footage feeling. I love the modern found footage feeling now with the iPhone. I really thought that was clever too. So really well done. Very scary.
Yeah, I think that the framing device of the phone overlay and the patient log, plus sad but relatable human experience of being in terminal care. Like we all know or have been to a hospital, unfortunately, where someone might be an older one might be passing on, so it instantly creates a connection. One of the smart things that I thought was kind of brilliant about this too is that the film was called Patient 40, and she begins on, they begin the film at I think patient 38. So in the back of your head, there's that ticking clock of like, what's patient 40? What's patient 40? And like we see patient 39, you're like, okay, I guess we're getting, it creates a nice sense of dread and anticipation. So yeah, lovely work.
Yeah, for me, I mean, Caleb and Shelby knows like a year ago today, I think I did a found footage horror for this very contest. And I love that aspect of it. I thought they found a modern way to do it. And then, being half Asian, like the whole Asian horror references, I thought they did a great job with shadow work, with color, with expressions, and like with editing. Like to a T. I mean, I would assume the person is a big fan of Asian cinema. But that was my first initial reaction.
Yeah, and my thought was, is the narrator patient 40? Is being like in proximity to these patients and witnessing the horrors, like maybe they're documenting it, but at the end, like we're kind of almost seeing this, like them recording from the device, right? Because of the orientation change, but definitely a spooky one. Visually, like stunning. I think the use of the modern iPhone, camera like really helped cover up any of the flaws. But I just think they did a stunning job on this film.
Next up is a really interesting film called Postpartum by Trace Slobotkin.
Leave her alone. I know postpartum depression is common, but trying to kill your baby is not. She was screaming that there was something wrong with her. Mom, okay, I'll be right over. Hey, honey, I need to run over to my mom's real quick. The pilot on our water heater went out. Will you be okay? I won't be gone long.
I'll be fine.
All right. Be right back.
What the
Incredible.
I love that one.
What a cute baby.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Wow. So
Wow.
that one, it has unbelievable VFX, which is really hard to do. It looks like the VFX were intentional. Maybe additional VFX were even added in addition to just, what you could generate with AI. And it was just really cool. And I think Dan might agree. This is one of those examples where horror film just has like a perfect name where you could imagine this coming out in theaters and it's like postpartum. It just sounds perfect. Super cool concept, extremely original. And one of the things I liked, in addition to the character consistency, which is really hard to do, it's getting easier now, but they did a great job, is actually the fact that they were really economical. A lot of times you see short films and they waste a lot of time. They have a lot of unnecessary things, a lot of slow pace that's really not needed for the story. And it doesn't really build any suspense. They were extremely economical with the time, and that made it feel really good. It's one of those ones where it's the most rewatchable of the bunch, for me at least. So I thought that was a great job.
I absolutely love this one. I love that it's gory and splattery and bloody and it's so much fun. But really what was cool was the nice surprise, because just as I was like kind of rolling my eyes going like, all right, where are we going with this? It delivers. And I think when horror's done super well, it's very much like comedy. It's set up in a punchline, and this is the misdirect and the punchline. And this was just awesome.
Yeah, I agree. It was really well done. I really liked the intention of kind of setting it in. It felt like the 70s, right? Or like it just felt like a little nostalgic as well. So I don't know if they were trying to give homage to the past filmmakers of that kind of like spooky terror. So I really just love the fun ending, especially at the end. I did not expect that coming at all. So I really did jump.
Yeah, I'll say this goes back to the roller coaster idea of why we love horror. Because this is a really long ramp up, and then a pretty awesome drop. And then everybody goes woo. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really appreciate their commitment to. This was a good example of like what AI sometimes, I'm going to say, struggles with a little bit, is getting over that 10-second hump, right? And we have tricks with extends, and I definitely saw them in the beginning when she's sort of laying there, and it's just kind of like yeah, you kind of see a little bit of morph, you kind of see a little bit of shift. But I appreciate the fact that they were like, no, we're committing to this long shot here and holding on it to show her mental state, to hear everything, all the story in the background. So yeah, I mean, absolutely applaud that. Sometimes with this stuff, it's got to look a little bit wrong in order to tell your story, and that's okay.
Yeah, for me, I mean, when I saw the name, like obviously I know the filmmaker because he's a screenwriter in Hollywood. His name's Trace. And I think some of us said that, you could see the subtlety and like, less is more approach. And like, I feel like that probably comes from the screenwriting background where you don't have to have so many cuts. You can kind of focus on the character. There's actually one camera pan up from the girl to the guy in the bed that I was like, that's pretty impressive because not only was he riding that one shot, then he panned up and it felt like a real camera move. So I thought that was awesome. And then, I watched this at like midnight last night and that baby got me good. Like I jumped. And I watch a lot of horror, and I was like, I did not expect that. Just like Spooky Dan said, it was like, where's it? Come on, man, I got kids. I don't want to see no kids getting hurt. Where's this going? Don't be that film. And then boom, it got me, and I was like, yes, it was awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I was like, oh man, like we can't trust the woman with the kid, but then it's like, no, we trust her. She was right. So I appreciated that. But that baby laughing after murdering the mom, I was like, holy heck, he's a monster. But it was honestly so good. I also love that the way they use shadow in the film to cover up the lip and the dialogue, because obviously we know that that's a struggle. The lip syncing is so hard with AI, but I think they did an amazing job using the film and the story to like kind of cover up some of those flaws. So this was brilliant.
Next up is Sabrina by Thibaut Rabot.
From a deep sleep, I must have had a nightmare, but I really cannot remember. My heart was beating up out of my chest and I was cold. I must have left the window cracked. 25th of September and the winter's coming back. The house is unusually quiet and I'm wondering where Sabrina's at. By this time at 8 o'clock, she would have been pulling on my blanket saying, Daddy, I want some cereal, wondering where her mommy's at. My door's wide open, I can hear the breeze hit the curtains. Wind chime hanging on the front porch singing, Sabrina must be asleep. I pull back the sheets, get up and walk toward a room in the hall. Not a peep, not a sound, not at all. The anxiety of a father is setting in as I turn the corner to a room. Her Mickey Mouse blanket's on the floor, she isn't in the bed. I take a deep breath, put my hand on my head, relax. It's a game of hide and seek, she's in the closet, I know it, I open the door, gotcha. She isn't there, the faint sound of the television from downstairs is playing some cartoon. She's on the couch, of course, how did I oversleep? Baby girl, why didn't you come wake up, Daddy? Not a response. Fear turned to frustration. Sabrina, answer me. Brina, this isn't funny. I ran to the couch, she's not there. I'm starting to panic and I'm looking up everywhere. Guest rooms, bathrooms, cabinets, under the tables, the attic. Wait a minute, oh God, no. I know she wouldn't go outside. We live so far back in the woods, she wouldn't dare. It's too scary for a little girl just to go bye-bye. I'm trying to escape my mind's eye, but my imagination is running wild. At this point, I'm talking to God. Please, Lord, please, I'm scared. Help me find my child. I run to the basement. Sweat beads on my hands, pacing, thinking, turn my face in. The screen door to the backyard's ajar. I run to the swing set. Swing set? No. Sandbox? No. God damn it, Sabrina, where'd you go? There's a trail to a pond that I take her to every day. Maybe she's down there. I run down the trail, it's about 100 yards. We usually hang out on the pier. And as I get close in, everything moves slow motion. A little white shirt on the surface of the water, she was there, lifeless, floating. Oh my God. The pain I can't explain, I couldn't say anything. I ran to the water, God, is this really my daughter? I picked her up, she was heavy, I held her tight in my arms. I took her out of the pond, I laid her down in the grass. I couldn't breathe, I gasped. Giving the CPR, she wasn't responding to it. My phone in my pocket, my hands are shaking, my vision's blurry. 911 to send the ambulance in a hurry, but it was too late. No telling how long she wasn't breathing, her skin was the color purple. Her lips were ice cold, she must have fell off the pier, reaching for a teddy bear. She tried to get out, she got wood under her nails. God, what did you do to us? What are we doing? I say my prayers at night. Have I not been a concern? What did you do to my baby? She's mine, I give her back. You don't deserve her if you let her die like that.
Man, this one was wild because you wouldn't think doing like a rap song, a song in general that has the lyrics of the story, but then making it a rap song and then giving it this anime sort of multimedia sort of look. You wouldn't think that would work because there's so many ways for that to go awry. but I thought they did a really good job. I mean, I thought the story was, really well told in the song, which is hard to do, and the visuals sort of back that up. And it surprisingly didn't take you out of it, which you would expect from something like this. So I think that was really well done. It actually had a lot of emotional weight. It's one of those sort of like true horror things in the sense that this is something that could happen in real life, and that's what makes it scary rather than, paranormal horror or, alien horror or any of these other sort of genres. So I thought that was a cool change up, and it was definitely one of the most creative ones. Like I would never expect to see something like this, even in a contest this creative.
I'll agree that it's definitely like the horror Hamilton aspect of it was a fresh take. The one thing I'll have a criticism, maybe I'm alone on this, but whenever it turned back into like reality, it sort of took me out of the awesomeness of the comic book thing they were actually pulling off. And while I was like, this is so really creative and well done, then all of a sudden I'm like back into regular and sort of disappointed. But what a clever use of all of the tools.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan. I did get kind of taken out of the running scene with the real life, yeah, and just those moments because I think just being consistent with the actual anime look all throughout would have just kept me into it. Um, I don't know. It might just be me personally. I just think I would have been more into the story if it was just told a different way. I think I was a little taken out of the rap song a little bit, and I probably am alone. But it was just I thought the idea of it and what they were trying to do was very clever and definitely very original. Just for me emotionally, I think I was just kind of getting into the beat of the song, and then that kind of took me out of feeling fear. But the story itself was very strong and obviously disturbing again, with just like how the child dies and how he finds her. So that was just me, though.
I love that Spooky Dan just hashtagged Hamilton horror. That is such a good phrase. I want to see an entire genre of Hamilton horror. No, I agree with you guys on the on the idea on that whole stylistic shift. It was a little bit jarring, but it was funny. In the back of my head, I kept kind of thinking, because it is sort of more of a grounded moment of fear, right? Like there's no like supernatural element to this or anything, and then sort of like the hip hop verse kind of cadence of it all actually got me kind of thinking about like Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven, like sort of like a poetic sort of reading on that. It was very fascinating, like, to kind of view it from that angle. So yeah, I mean, look, it's hugely different from anything that I've seen. I have to applaud that. So great job. Oh, and I presume it was not a Suno or Udio.
Yeah. The first thing I thought was, did Yellow Wolf enter the Curious Refuge contest? Because I swear that's Yellow Wolf, for one. Second, I'm a horrorcore fan to some degree. So, I mean, I kind of think about, it kind of reminded me of like the horrorcore music videos, or you think about Eminem back in the early 2000s. But I actually think the song was actually so good, it actually took away from the film for me, because I was just listening to the song and nodding my head and actually stopped paying attention to the story. So it almost did a disservice because I thought the song was so strong. I thought the song was actually pretty dope. And it sounds like Yellow Wolf. We got to get to the bottom of that. I think that was Yellow Wolf.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'll be devil's advocate. I actually liked the style transition. I think it was really interesting because, I mean, like, I think I was like, oh, is that an actual shot of them running like live action right now? Is this like them running through a field? I just thought it was really interesting to see those transitions while continuing to have like consistent characters and like themes and narrative. But I also really enjoyed this one. And to your point, Lion, about things that could actually happen being so terrifying, I really like, I guess, like relate to the psychological thrillers, and I appreciate those films. And so this one, I feel like I had full body chills when he saw his daughter in the water. I was just like, oh my gosh, and so this one was definitely emotionally resonant, and I appreciated it a lot.
This next film has an incredible aesthetic and story. This is The Cartoonist by Nicholas Palmette.
もしもし。
ああ、ヒカルさん。この電話番号はなかなか見つかりませんでした。お元気ですか？漫画は進んでいますか？
はい、取り組んでいます。しばらく離れなければならなかったんです。このストーカーの状況は本当に手に払えなくなっていました。
分かっています。電話番号を変えなければなりませんでした。心配しないでください。大したことではないと思います。探がせたくはありませんが、すでに番号が少ないことはご存知でしょう。今週が最後のチャンスかもしれません。でも、あなたならできると信じています。前回私が言ったことを付け加えることを考えてください。いいですか？わかりました。気をつけて。
ありがとう。どうやって彼は私を見つけたの？
先生、あなたが私を無視するのは悲しいことなの知ってるでしょう。私は毎日あなたに手紙を書いた。あなたを愛している。あなたにも私を愛してほしい。ただあなたを抱きしめたい。
That one's so good.
Yeah.
Very
I made this too hard.
Wow.
Yeah.
That one is, I don't want to throw around the word masterpiece, but I just thought everything about it was so cool. It had this really awesome, almost 70s inspired retro aesthetic, and they nailed it. It really never really feels like AI the entire time you're watching it. It shows like where this kind of storytelling is going and what's possible. I think Dave mentioned that he has the like Asian heritage. I want to say you're part Korean. I think I heard in a previous interview with you. And I love Asian horror. I love Korean horror, and especially the Japanese horror as well. And I thought that he absolutely nailed it while bringing something new, in the genre, in the niche that felt totally different. And the monster was cool. The reveal was cool. The aesthetics were cool. The whole thing felt tied together. I just thought it was perfect. I loved it.
Wow, I did not have that opinion at all. I thought it was really well done, and I thought the vintage gimmick was so cool. Like, wow, what a great consistency. But they did what I think is the cardinal sin of AI right now is the slow-mo montage. And that could have, storytelling-wise, been a lot faster to get to the point and use the slow-mo motions really more effectively. But boy, that ending creepy moment is so very cool. But I didn't love it as much as you did.
I really love this one. I just thought it was so well made. It was just so spooky, and the way that they used AI to make it just look very real and very vintage and old, but like that whole part made it look real. And then the running through the forest, I just thought everything about it and just the whole theme, just sort of like, it just felt like his own demons, right? Coming after him, just like literally, like his own drawings, from that, the monster. It was just all well done and really well put together. I mean, it was just so spooky more than anything. I just thought it was well done.
Yeah, I'm on team loved it too. I do get your point, Dan. The first, my initial viewing, it was like, okay, pace, where are we going with this? Where are we going? Like, and it kind of ends up creating a sense of like, atmospheric dread, I guess. But at the same time, because technically it was so just awesome. I mean, you can see there's a lot of post-processing that was not just prompt, like 8mm style movie of a Japanese man in the woods. Like there was definitely a lot more going on there, so I think that gave you a chance to sort of analyze what was happening within the frame, and actually you become even more impressed by it, because like it's just like that's really, really good. The other two things that I kind of noted that was one, I don't know, depending on what speakers or headphones you might be listening to, I only noticed this on like third watch, that there's like this record like static that's happening the entire time. I think it's like I think it's a plugin called RC20 that a lot of the audio guys use. A lot of the lo-fi guys use it a lot, just to kind of create this like static, like vinyl effect in the background. But it's really cool and effective here because it creates a very like subconscious analog sound that you're picking up, auditorily. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. And then the last thing that I'll say is that I actually really like the fact that the monster was motivated out of like sick and twisted love, but love. You know what I mean? That you very rarely see that as a monster motivation. So yeah, really, really well done there. But
yeah, for me, I love the kind of the Asian inspired ghost lore or creature lore. I thought there was a sound design that kind of like went throughout. It actually reminded me a lot of It Follows. There was like always this kind of pulsing, like reverberated tone that kind of made you have anxiety at all points of watching the movie, and it did that well. I do agree with Spooky Dan. I mean, someone actually sent me this. I think someone posted it on Reddit. I think this is out there on Reddit, getting a ton of traction. And I remember like, man, this is taking too long, because I actually turned it off at the time. But watching it again, for a purpose, like I really enjoyed it this time around.
Yeah, Stacey, you had such a good point of saying like the monster is, maybe he's like creating his own monster. That is an interesting perspective that I didn't have, but I appreciate it. I think it's so interesting that we can all take something different from these films. I was more watching it as this man's trying to get away, but somehow this like stalker has like found him, and now he's retreating in his cabin, which is like another layer of like what's been happening in this stalker's world to like get down to that like detail of stalking and following. But I just really enjoyed the aesthetic of this one. I thought it was well done. It's the only film that I audibly said, "Oh shit," at the end. So I was alone in my house and I was like, "Oh," and then I had to like look around for a minute. So that was telling to me.
If you're a fan of stop motion, you're going to enjoy this next film. This is The Pumpkin Boy by Tim Evans.
In the quiet town of Willow Creek, every Halloween, there would appear a boy with a pumpkin for a head. No one knew where he came from, nor where he went, but those who saw him claimed he wasn't like the other children, because he never spoke, he never laughed, he only watched. They called him the Pumpkin Boy because of the strange, grinning mask he wore, one that never came off, no matter how many Halloweens passed. But the children whispered about him. They said if you looked too closely into his hollow eyes, you'd see something moving inside. Adults never paid much attention to him, writing him off as another child in costume. But the children knew better. They said the Pumpkin Boy was no child at all, but a lost soul searching for a friend to take with him into the night. It was said that every year the pumpkin boy would choose one child, one who was brave enough or foolish enough to approach him. That child would disappear before the sun rose, never to be seen again. That year it was Tommy's turn. He had heard the stories, the warnings from his friends to stay away from the pumpkin boy. But curiosity is a powerful thing, and Tommy was, above all else, curious. It wasn't the kind of candy you'd find at a store. It was old, too old, the wrapper faded and torn. But Tommy didn't care. In his mind, it was an invitation, a gesture of friendship. Tommy didn't know it yet, but the moment he touched the candy, his fate was sealed. By the time the sun rose the next morning, Tommy was gone. The town would search for him, but they would find no trace. His parents would call out, desperate, but no answer would come. But the pumpkin boy would return, just as he always did, waiting for the next curious soul to approach him, to offer them the same dark gift.
Yeah, so one of the things that I liked about this was the cool, like Henry Selick inspired retro, almost like Coraline, James and the Giant Peach, Nightmare Before Christmas vibe, that he was famous for. A lot of people think Tim Burton did those, but it's actually this guy Henry Selick, and it looks cool. It's actually surprising how it has a unique look that's different from traditional stop motion. It looks like a combination of stop motion and puppeteering. That's actually pretty cool. I thought that was cool. And then you have these little moments like where the mom's looking, she's like hugging, the dad, and then her eyes look up, which is just like a pleasant little surprise you'll get in AI sometimes. And I thought those cool touches gave it like a cool vibe. It was kind of on the lighter side, it had like the spooky season vibes more than the traditional horror vibes, but it felt like a cool fit for, October and fall and stuff. It definitely had that. It seemed like one of those kinds of stories you might see progress into, one of those classic children's sort of scary films where then the protagonist gets introduced next. So I thought that was cool, and then goes on an adventure to find the missing kids. So it was cool. It was like, a short film that led up to the possibility of being something longer if they, kept working on it.
I totally agree. I love the Halloween vibes on this one, but I think what stood out for me the most that really made me really dig this one was kind of what you just said about how it's not quite Leica, it's not quite stop motion, it's not quite puppetry. It almost felt like its own new thing. And I think with a little bit of curation and pushing, this really could feel like a new art form in its own way. And I think that's something that all of us AI artists are striving towards, of like, is this our corner yet? Or is it someone else's corner still? And this one kind of feels like it carved its own corner and really successfully did it.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed this one. I actually thought it was really cute. So it was more cute than spooky. So when we set up the world of kind of what his real motivations were, I thought that that turn into making it a little creepier worked as well. Cause I like the kind of cute to creepy kind of vibes like Chucky, I don't know if Chucky's cute, but he is to me. So that's kind of what it reminded me of. And again, with the AI, just like with the Mr. Stitch, AI is it's so much harder with human faces, but we can kind of make these objects kind of like have expressions and kind of like play with it and just kind of have fun with that. And I think the filmmakers did a really good job with this one.
Yeah, stylistically, I thought this was really well done, very consistent in terms of tone. I agreed with everyone. Kind of has that. It's funny because it's like Coraline-ish, but not quite. And I'm a big fan of. There's a stop motion animators called the Brothers Quay. It kind of there's moments of it like that, especially in the organic sort of like coats and whatnot. So I thought it was cute. Which it definitely had that sort of like pumpkin spooky season sort of vibe to it. If I have one complaint, I just wish it does very much feel like the prelude to your main story. And I guess that's a good thing because I want to see more, if that, I just wish, I wish there was a little bit more there, but I'm happy that there isn't because I would like to see more of it. So.
Yeah, this film was super cute, super stunning. It does feel like it's one that would have like a cult following that you'd watch every year. They would definitely use it and maybe reskin the Haunted Mansion at Disney. But no, it was really great, and I loved the story. I thought it was a good one.
And last but certainly not least is this incredible submission called Water by Danny Singh.
Wow. So I love this one. I think it's really hard to do something cool that has no narration, no dialogue, no real characters or anything. And it reminded me of sort of Neil Blomkamp's early films like Welcome to Joburg and District 9, in the sense where they use this almost documentary style vibe to do found footage, but in a unique way where it seems like, I don't know, some military documented footage that we're rewatching at a later time of some event that got buried by history. We don't know how it turns out if it keeps going from there. This is definitely one of those ones where I would want to watch more in this universe. And I thought it was so cool how they did it. And a lot of the shots felt really real. So when you started to get like the sort of gore of this condition from the water progressing, it really started to like creep me out and sort of terrifying me. Again, like the true horror thing where, you know, probably something like this wouldn't happen, but it felt like it really could. And I thought they did a great job with that aesthetic and everything. And sort of like the cartoonists in which they had that sound in the background the entire time of the static that really, I don't know, created this ongoing sense of dread without having super intense music or anything like that. I thought the subtlety did really, really well to make the film really kind of shine.
I love that it was super gross. It was super grim. It was nice and short, and it really didn't feel like AI. Like you could have, you know, it was one of those, the few that actually pulls that off very, very well with the vintage look on this one. So really, this was just spectacular. And the fact that they have no dialogue and still had a whole shit ton of story and where you're with it the entire time. What a excellent job.
Yeah, I love this film. I love it so much. It was so well made. It had no dialogue, like you said. It all looked real, like just the progression and the consistency of seeing these same faces, right? And I love the countdown of like stage 1, stage 2, and then just kind of stage 3, I'm like, oh, people looking sickly here. And it was just like, ew, like, you didn't see like so much coming, and then all the action. I wanted to know what was going to happen next. I wanted to be in this world and see the full story. So, and it felt so real. That was the thing. It felt like a real news found footage, document. So I thought the filmmaker did an excellent job all around on everything, visuals, story, everything.
Yeah, I would definitely say from a technical standpoint, the framing device of using that VHS footage, I mean, it's pretty flawless. I mean, that is probably one of the most remarkable looking AI films that I've seen in kind of a while. Like everybody else said, the lack of dialogue, but even more so, the amount of control that you have to exhibit to not put sound effects in there, like during the explosion, of the helicopter and the gunshots, like you kind of, like, you're fighting with yourself, like you want to put those in there, but no, I mean, like, love that. Environmental horror, body horror, existential dread of just, I mean, that whole thing is really, really good. Good job, guys.
Yeah, this reminded me, like, while watching it as a kid, I think I was like 10 when Eli Roth's Cabin Fever came out, and I was terrified of that film. And I know it's kind of like a comedy, but at the time I was like, I don't know, cabins are terrifying, but it's actually the illness, right? And this essential need of water making you sick. And so that's a terrifying situation that could happen. And so I feel like the whole time I was like, okay, what's happening? We're afraid of just like normal life. And it was like, oh shoot, okay, there's a virus, and we all know that feels close to home in some ways. So yeah, very well done. I had a friend over while I was watching this one, and she was like, this is not AI. This looks like legit footage. And so, that was interesting, right? Like someone who's not in this space was like, wait, is that really AI? So very interesting, and well executed.
Okay, now that we've reviewed the films, it's time to vote on the winners. Here's how scoring is going to work. Third place votes will receive 1 point. Second place votes will receive 2 points, and first place votes will receive 3 points. At the end of all of the rounds, we will add up the points together, and the person with the most points will win first, second, and third place. But let's kick it to the judges to select their third place favorites.
My third place film is Patient Number 40 by Ramil Escarda. I thought that was really cool, really clever, super unique, had one of the best creatures, and all around it had a great concept. So I absolutely love that.
For me, this was the hardest of all of them, the third place, because there are a whole lot of good movies that should have made it. But for me, it was The Pumpkin Boy, because I just wanted to see more of this world, and I liked the visual aesthetic that they have established.
My third place was Water. I actually, after I sent it, I wanted to make it 1 because it's like so well done and I loved it so much.
Ultimately for me, No Name took third spot. I love it. I thought it was great. I love the through line of the like hide and seek game, and some of the shots in there were awesome. I love that first person perspective of through the grocery store. I thought some of those shots were just stellar.
My third place was Sabrina by, I hope I say your name right, Thibaut Rabot. I thought it was just a really emotionally resonant film. I thought it was horrifying, like psychological thriller of like him searching for his daughter and then finding her in the water and feeling like you can't do anything to bring her back. I appreciated the song. I loved the visuals. Just thought it was a really well done film.
My third place vote, I actually chose Postpartum by Trace Slobodkin. Like I said, I think the things I loved about it was the attention to detail, the economy of just storytelling, and not having to jam so much in. Some of the initial framing, holding on, the shot of the woman on the bed, and then some of the subtle camera pans up to her husband, and just I think Spooky Dan said it is like that kind of like that moment that got you like, where is this all going? And then for that to have such a big impact on me as I was watching it, like that really kind of blew me away.
And that means after our third place round, it really is a 6-way tie and anybody's race. Now let's move on to the second place round.
So my second place film was Water by Danny Tsang. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was extremely well technically executed. I thought the concept was cool, and it was one of those ones that truly horrified me and made me want to watch more, and rarely didn't feel like AI at all, which is hard to do.
My second place was Postpartum. I really wanted to give it to first because I love the punchline of that one, and I love how gross it was, and then I surprised. But that was so good. But Awesome film.
My second place was The Cartoonist. It was so well made. Again, it just didn't feel like AI at all. A lot of realistic looking shots, and just the sound and the visuals together just made that chilling effect even more. So it was really well done.
My second place was The Cartoonist. I thought that just I was so in love with the analogness of it all. And again, like I was saying in the earlier comments, just like those little subtle details. It's something that I want to go back and rewatch again. Because again, I think it was only on that third watch that I picked up on that sort of like analog, like vinyl crackle that was happening in the background. So it almost makes me want to go back and rewatch to see what else I missed. So yeah, fantastic job.
My second place pick is Verena Phum's G-Pigs. I think this film had such solid structure, like narrative structure. I think the story was incredible. There being reasoning behind these guinea pigs attacking people. I think it was really well done. And even the parts where it fell apart with AI, the story was so strong that it just kept me interested in what was happening at the time.
So my second choice was Meet Mr. Stitch by William Bennett. I think, we talked a little bit about, things that stand out, originality, things that can kind of go beyond just, the duration of the film. And I thought the character he created, the mood, the atmosphere, the voice was something just that haunted through my bones. I still get chills thinking about the voice of the character. And that's definitely a character I would never want to see during sleep paralysis.
Okay, after our second place round, The Cartoonist by Nicholas Pommet is in the top spot. But now we come to our first placed round. Remember, in this round, all of the votes are worth 3 points. Let's hear what our judges think.
So my first place pick is The Cartoonist by Nicholas Pommet. I thought that it was beautifully done, beautifully executed. I love the aesthetic. I love the pacing. It was slow, but I think it built up into something that was truly dreadful. I love the cleverness and the twist of you ending up, in a much deeper stalking type movie. And I just thought it was truly original and one of a kind.
My first place pick was G-Pigs. I love that they put so much story into 4 minutes, so much cleverness with AI, with their lip sync was fantastic, and the fun of it. There was a lot of fun going on. So I thought G-Pigs hit all the boxes in the best way it possibly could. So great job, G-Pigs.
My first place was No Name. I just loved everything about these young girls in this world, this protected world, and how it transitioned into it, and just feeling like you were still with the girls, and that was a subtle little transition twist. I loved everything about how they did that. And I just love zombie movies. It was really well done. I wanted to see more, especially with that last door shake.
My first place pick is Water. I thought it was, again, tactically marvelous. It's funny because as we've gone through all of the commentary on all of this, we keep coming back to like circling back to character and story and these relatable moments and everything. And then, my number one pick actually doesn't have any of that. And that's actually something that I think is really brave on their part as well, is that, there's the story in Water exists between the shots. It's up to the viewer to actually create that narrative in their own head. I think it's very brave on their part to just say, like, here's the thing, and trust the audience to stick with it and figure out and put all the pieces together. So that's really, really well done.
My number one pick is The Cartoonist by Nicholas Pommet. This film just, again, to the psychological thriller of feeling like this could actually happen, having a stalker who finds you and stalks you, just terrifying. And I think they did a great job of just creating their own like visual aesthetic and telling the story in such a powerful way. That was definitely chilling.
My first place film is G-Pigs by Verena Phum. I think we would all say this was super hard. There's probably 5 films that could have been my top 3, 5 or 6. The reason why I chose this film, because I think of the attention to the detail in the storytelling, the ability to use sound design as a character, the ability to use editing as a character. And I think the overall story, like, we're going back to like, where is this all going with the guinea pigs and being able to tie it back into the backstory was really, really big to me. And I think, every time I do a film on my own, it's like always, there's different pieces to it. Like, how far can I push this piece versus just try to tell this one singular story? I like layers in my horror. I think some of the best horror thrillers out there have those layers and make you care for these characters, good or bad. Who, even if it's some of the villains we love are, the Freddy Kruegers and the Michael Myers. There's a reason why we still love these villains. Like it's the backstory, it's the character traits, it's being able to see yourself on both sides of the story.
Before we announce the winners of this competition, I want to give a shout out to Sylvia Skazix, who won the Audience Favorite Award for this competition. Remember, you always have the opportunity to vote on your favorite film, and the majority of the audience said that Sylvia had the best project. You can go check out her project called Clockwork City by visiting the link below this video. Okay, now let's announce the winners. In 7th place, we have a 3-way tie between the Pumpkin Boy, Patient Number 40, and Sabrina. In 6th place, we have Meet Mr. Stitch. In 5th place, we have Postpartum. And in 4th place, we have No Name. And that brings us to our top 3 winners. Remember, anybody who places in the top 3 spots will receive a free Curious Refuge course of choice and an AI filmmaking sweater, in addition to the prizes that they will win for placing in their specific spots. So that brings us to our 3rd place winner. In 3rd place, we have Water by Danny Sang. You have won $500 and a saltine pillow. In 2nd place, and I can't believe this, we have G-Pigs by Verena Fum. You have won $1,000 and some very comfy sushi slippers. And I should note that Verena actually got 2nd place in our previous competition. So close to 1st place, but very, very talented in the filmmaking department. And that means the winner of the 2nd annual AI horror film competition is The Cartoonist by Nicholas Pommet. This was an incredible film, and Nicholas, you have won $3,000 and a cursed potato. Congratulations on your win. If you want to check out any of the films that we screened inside of this judging call, you'll find a link below this video. And thank you so much to the judges for taking time out of their day to check out these films and share their insights. And a big thank you to Inifinity AI for co-sponsoring this competition. If you want to participate in the next competition, be sure to subscribe to our email list to be the first to know when a new competition drops. All you have to do is click the little blue button in the top right corner on Curious Refuge and sign up. You'll also get a free Intro to AI Filmmaking course whenever you do. And of course, if you ever want to learn the latest AI filmmaking techniques, be sure to check out our courses at Curious Refuge. We train artists in over 149 countries and at every major studio on the latest tips and techniques for the future of storytelling. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted a film for this event. We want to do many more in the future, so be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.